So I'm Sophie, and I am a designer at Google. And today I wanted to talk to you about some methods that we use to help design better products that people actually hopefully want to use. So like I said, I'm a UX designer and I'm working on Google Maps and I'm currently living in Australia. But before that, I worked at Quora and Palantir in California. And what I've learned from my experiences at these companies is that no product idea is perfect from the start, but by understanding what people need, you can pivot, iterate, and grow your ideas to build products that users will really love. Today, I'm going to talk about a few methods that we employ at Google to help us when we're building new products. So the first stage is understand, where we really want to find which group of users this feature or product is best fitted to. So when building a new feature, it's really tempting to just say your feature is so good that it's for everyone. But there's almost always a core group of users that you want to be building for, especially when you're starting out. Even for a large product like Google Maps, we always segment our users into distinct groups. This allows the team to focus their efforts when building a feature and make sure that we're designing something that is a really excellent experience for at least one core group of people. There are many ways to segment out your users, but for them to be helpful, they should always be distinct and help you make meaningful decisions about your product. If you're finding that you can't really make meaningful decisions about what features to create based on your users, you should consider kind of narrowing down your group until you have a clear focus. So for example, say we were about to build the world's first meal kit delivery service, and it was going to send recipes and groceries to people's house every week so they could cook dinner. One way that we could segment the user group for this product is by the amount of spare time that people have and their skill level at cooking. Here you can see someone who doesn't have a lot of time and isn't very good at cooking might be looking for convenience food that is just quick and simple. Conversely, someone who has far more time but isn't good at cooking might be looking to learn new skills or slowly build those skills over time. When building an MVP, it's often helpful to focus on one group of people to make sure that your product works for this group first before you expand. This will ensure that you don't try and overextend and do too much and build a product that isn't really optimized for anyone. When knowing your target audience will also help you prioritize your features. So looking at our example, the novice chef who wants to learn more might really benefit from really well-produced, beautiful videos and tutorials about how to cook. However, the person who doesn't have a lot of time and is already very good at cooking probably wouldn't have a lot of use for that kind of feature. So in this way, user segmentation can really help you narrow your focus and decide what features you want to build. As a team, once you've decided your user group, the next stage that we do is define, which is all about getting a better understanding of what people in this group want and finding their needs. So to get a better understanding of the target audience, there are several methods that we commonly use at Google. The first is just called desk research, where we take a broad and general look at the existing research in this market and understand our target demographic. This is really good for bringing you up to speed the latest industry knowledge and trends, and it can also help you spot emerging trends, which is very important for building long-term products. If you find user behaviors that are beginning, like people are going out to restaurants more or people are driving less than they did 5 years ago, it'll help you build a product that's more suited for the future that we're going into. The next method we use is interviewing users in the target audience. These can be 5 to 10 interviews for around 30 minutes, and we just ask open-ended questions about users' current behaviors. When interviewing these users, it's often far more helpful to ask about their past behaviors. For instance, like, when did you last cook in the last 2 weeks? And when you did, how did you decide what to cook? Because when we ask people questions about their future behavior, they're far more likely to just make up or guess. And they're also more likely to think super optimistically about their future self, which isn't very realistic. Say someone who says, I'm going to go to the gym every single day next month, but they end up not doing so. So we often don't really have a good sense of what our future actions might be. So that's why we tend to ask about past actions, so they're more grounded in reality. So because of this, we end up with a really good picture of how people are currently behaving, so our product can fit into that. You want to also ensure that within that target group, you're looking at a really broad demographic of age, gender, and backgrounds, so you don't just get tunnel vision and build for someone who's just too much like you. Another method we use is competitive analysis. This is looking at other products that are already in the market that are similar to what we want to do. This helps us understand what users' baseline expectations would be for a product and what features kind of seem vital. And it can also help you understand kind of gaps in the market. If you see that no one is offering the current service right now, that might be something that users really need that isn't being offered. So Henry Ford once famously said about building cars, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. This is very important to keep in mind when you're talking to your users. If a user mentions they want a specific feature, you should kind of dig deeper and understand why they're asking for that feature. So if they say, I want a chatbot on the website, ask them why, and they might tell you, oh, because speed of customer service is really important to me. Now you know that speed of feedback is very important. Your team can go away and think about and innovate new ways to solve that problem, because user interviews tend to be really good for gathering user needs, but they're not very good at just gathering a list of feature requests. This is because people in interviews tend to think really near term or just reference other features they've already seen, which doesn't give your team a lot of room to innovate new solutions. Once you've done your research on understanding the landscape, you want to collate all this data in a format that's really easy to reference. One way you can do this is by creating a user needs matrix. Creating one of these as a team not only helps make your data more usable, but it also helps you ensure that everyone is on the same page in terms of your goals and constraints for the product. This can be super helpful moving forward, because once you've established a kind of common goal and vision for your product, you're less likely to have disagreements about fundamental aspects of where your product is going to go. This matrix can also help with making product decisions about what to build or prioritize. The 4 segments that we normally include when we build one of these aim to capture different aspects and different information about the user group. The first one is users, which covers basic information about the group you're initially going to focus on. Could be age, what technologies they're using, what their current knowledge or skill level is. The next one is user goals, which really focuses on what your users want to achieve with your product. It can be helpful to phrase these in a way that users actually talk. So people don't really walk around the street saying, I want a box of groceries delivered to my house every week. They're more likely to say things like, I don't want to have to think about what to cook tonight for dinner, or I want to get better at cooking. So those are kind of really good examples of user goals. The next segment is user needs, which focuses all on about the tools and the information or steps that people need to take to achieve their goals. For example, someone who's not very good at cooking and using this meal kit delivery service might need really clear instructions and basic cooking equipment. By breaking down these needs, we can ensure that we're setting the users up for success. So in our example, knowing that someone needs basic cooking equipment, we could add to our product a way to warn users of what equipment they might need, or we could even start selling a basic cooking equipment kit to users, so they're set up for success. The final segment is constraints, which focuses on things that either the users or the team that's building the product can't do. For example, maybe your users don't have a smartphone, so you need to find another way to connect with them. Or maybe the product you're building has to fit into an existing website with Hatch's own constraints, or maybe your team only has a very short amount of time to build this.